Welcome to the Mineral Point School District's narrated PowerPoint. I'm Superintendent Luc Francois, and I'm here to share with you a facilities plan that our school district has been working on for the past year. Before we start with our facilities planning, I'd like to share that we have been spending the last 6 years getting our academic house in order. As you can see by the arrow, Mineral Point is a district that's being represented by Green, and Green is one of the best school districts across the state on our most recent state assessment examinations. We're very proud of our accomplishment as green is certainly better than yellow, orange, and red, and it really reflects the hard work and how proud I am of our staff and our students in their most recent performance. One way that we can enhance that performance is making sure that we have great learning environments for every student in our school district. Mineral Point has 4 challenges that we've been working on as we looked at our long-term facilities plan. The first challenge is we are trying to address ongoing maintenance and repair of our aging facilities. Our elementary building is more than 50 years old, and our newer high school, middle school building is already 20 years old. The second challenge is enhancing school safety and security. Our third challenge is to alleviate space issues at our elementary school. Currently, we have occupational therapy and physical therapy working out of old locker rooms, and we have our English language learners working out of a janitor closet. This, coupled with fifth graders, are some of our largest bodies being pushed into some of our smallest spaces, allows us to really look at alleviating some of our space issues. Our fourth and final challenge is to provide a 21st century learning environment, allowing students to personalize their learning in spaces that are bright, airy, and vibrant places to learn in a collaborative manner. Over the past year, we have done a comprehensive analysis of our facilities. We've looked at potential projects that correct our deferred maintenance issues. We've looked at indoor environmental quality to include air and lighting. We've considered electrical and safety improvements, some possible facility remodeling, as well as some district-wide initiatives. All of this analysis was done with input from various stakeholders that included a staff survey, interviews with our administrative team, and conversations with our maintenance staff, all in effort to give you the information you need to help us give the direction to the school board to choose the project that fits our community. Let's begin by talking a little bit about deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance are maintenance projects that we have deferred or pushed down the road because in any one year we couldn't afford to do the project. Starting at our high school, it is a 20-year-old building and it is in need of a roof replacement. We have 30 plus drip pans that are sitting above our ceiling tiles catching water at this very moment. A lot of times when the water leaks down and it creates a brown water stain, we simply just replace the ceiling tile with a new tile. As you come into the buildings, they look great because you don't notice that above that is really some issues that we're working through. Other areas that we'll talk about are the building envelope, which has cracks in our masonry. We have mastic that weeps up through floor tile, and flashing that's allowing water and air into our building. We have some hardscapes that have parking lots in disrepair, sidewalks that need to be replaced, and concrete that's breaking apart. And one area where we know we need upgrades is our kitchen. Our dishwashers are 20 plus years old, and there's additional needs for cooler freezing space as well as upgrades in our cooking materials. In this slide, you'll see pictures of building envelope upgrades being proposed. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see ponding water on our roof at the high school, and below that you'll see cracks in our masonry and flashing problems that we know is areas where water is running back into the school. On the right-hand side, you'll see bricks and mortar that is breaking apart, and that's because we've got plugged up weeping holes that are not allowing the water to properly drain in those areas. Here you'll see pictures of our hardscape upgrades. We have many parking lots that have spider cracking in it. We can no longer crack, fill, and seal these areas as the new asphalt will no longer adhere to this old pavement. So we really need to do a full takeaway and replace of these breaking up parking lots. To the far right, you'll see concrete that has kind of crumbled and deteriorated over time, and there's many sidewalks that are in disrepair as well. In this slide, you'll see pictures of proposed drainage upgrades. We have areas where water is washing away the grade. We have standing water in parking lots, old catch basins for water that just need to be updated, and many places where the water actually runs back to the building and ponds and or undermines the foundation. In this slide, we're looking at indoor environmental quality measures. At the elementary school, we'd look to add air conditioning, and at the middle school and high school, we would expand the current air conditioning system. At the elementary school, we know we need to replace a 1966 boiler with a more energy efficient furnace. Also, there's plumbing at the elementary school that is in need of repair, more specifically a water heater that's at its end of life, and 1966 galvanized piping that's in need of replacement. At the middle school and high school, if we automated our air handling units, we would be more energy efficient. And in the technical education classroom where they cut wood and dust is collected, that collection unit is actually from the old high school and is in need of replacement. It no longer meets state code and is not properly functioning. At our agricultural building, we're looking at replacing the air handling unit that's actually inside of the classroom, and when it turns on, it makes a learning environment very hard to hear. And we would put that from inside to on top of the roof of the ag building. And then finally, in the middle school and high school system, we would look at a water softener system that would allow us to not have the hard water that we currently have that is gumming up a lot of our faucets, lavatories, and shower heads with calcified remnants that causes our water not to flow properly. In the area of lighting and electrical, we would look at enhancing our facilities with interior and exterior LED lighting. We would be more energy efficient and give us a brighter space for our learning environments. At the elementary school, a 50-year-old building wasn't built with today's use of internet, and we would just simply want to replace that electrical system and put a minimum of 3 power outlets in each room to charge our devices of today. Lastly, at the elementary school, there is no backup generator, so if the power goes off, we simply don't have a lighting system to come back on to continue our education until such time that the power comes fully back on from the grid. We are also looking at improving some of our safety measures. At the middle school and high school, we'd like to expand our current fire alarm system. It was built to code back 20 years ago, but in today's world it would no longer meet state code. So we'd like to expand that, as well as at the elementary school, just replace the entire fire alarm system that's closer to 50 years old. We'd like to expand our security camera system to include cameras inside of the building at the elementary and in some high use areas at the high school, as well as looking at our bell system, our PA system, and our speaker system all being tied in together with our phone system so that we have one consistent unit for communicating in an emergency. This slide gives you an overview of some of the opportunities that we would look to remodel at our middle school and high school facility. This slide speaks to the middle school and high school secured entrance proposal. On the left-hand side is our current scenario where after being buzzed in, you'd go through our double doors, and then once inside the double doors, it is possible for you to go down one of many hallways without ever physically checking into the office to state your business or understand your purpose or intent for being in the building. On the right-hand side, a proposed secure entrance would allow you to get into the first set of doors, but the second set of doors would be one way, and the only way to actually get into the building would be to go into a vestibule and be buzzed into the main office where you would be checked in by our receptionist. Once your known business and intent in the building is known, you would walk by our police liaison station and out the upper doors at the top of the picture, and then you can enter the building securely. This slide shows pictures of other facility remodel areas being proposed. We have everything from flooring where mastic is weeping up through the tile and creating a dirt and grime look that can't be scraped away or swept away, to an old dishwasher, 20 plus years old, casement work in the science education area that is from the old high school, where we have water sinks that don't work, gas stations that aren't working correctly. All of these areas can be enhanced with a facility remodel. At the middle school, high school, an expansion to our agricultural shop would help us with many different pieces. First of all, we don't have a secured entrance at the back of our building where students exit and enter into the egg building from our existing building. And to secure that entrance, we propose putting a covered walkway that would allow us to enter into the expansion onto the agricultural building. Secondly, that serves as additional space that's needed for storage, and it connects it to the existing egg building, allowing for a loading dock to unload metals directly into the welding shop. There is a proposal to add an additional wellness center onto the end of the field house. This wellness center would be roughly a 4,500 square foot facility and would have the ability to bring in cardio and weight equipment. There is a entrance that the red arrow points to that would be able to be accessible from the outside, so this could be and would be used as a community wellness center that would not have to necessarily have people come through the building to access it on nights and weekends. In this slide, we also looked at elementary school facility remodels as well, upgrading our classrooms and corridors, looking at a secure entrance addition as well as a traffic circulation improvement, and optimizing and reorganizing our departments as a building. A secured entrance at the elementary is also being proposed. To orient yourself, the top of the picture would be Front Street and the right-hand side of the picture would be Cawthorn. The red area proposed would be a proposed administrative addition, two-story addition that would have classrooms on the second floor. Specifically, this pattern would allow people to enter in from the left side into the building, and looking more specifically then, once in the building, would have to force people into the reception area from a vestibule, check in, state their intended business, and then back out in order to enter the building in a secure fashion. In conjunction with a new secure entrance would also be the possibility to upgrade our traffic circulation. Coming in off of Front Street would allow us to expand our parking to include visitor parking that is adjacent to the new entrance. Staff parking would be at the top, visitor parking at the bottom would enhance our ability to get into the building without walking across long sidewalks. Additionally, there would be a traffic circulation pattern following the red arrows where cars could come through, drop off, and then move on their way without having to do any congestion on the streets. Likewise, buses would come in on an outer loop and would be able to be adjacent to the entrance and exit of the building and pick up and drop off safely while not having to do so on street corners. This pattern does infringe upon the existing baseball field, and so a movement of that baseball field to the high school location would be necessary in order to look at this particular circulation upgrade. This picture represents some of the facility remodels being proposed at the elementary school. We would be looking at replacing outdated casework. We'd look at replacing tile that has asbestos underneath it, bringing in LED lighting to make better spaces and brighter lighting, and then replacing our outdated cubby system with some individual cubbies for kids. Another proposal before the board is optimizing our departments. On the right side of the picture, that is the Cawthorn entrance, where our current main office and locker room facilities are. If we relocate the main office to the proposed new addition, we could turn that area into a 4K room. And likewise, removing the locker rooms and making one larger space would allow our 4K to come from upstairs to downstairs adjacent to the doors to the playground. Reconfiguring those spaces would allow 4K kindergarten and first grade to be on the first floor, along with additional spaces for occupational therapy, physical therapy, and our English language learners moving out of a janitor closet into a real classroom. Moving to the second floor and reorganizing our departments would allow us to move some second and third grade classrooms above the new administrative addition and reallocate our spaces for our third, fourth, and fifth graders. Currently, our fifth graders are some of our largest bodies in some of our smallest classrooms. One might ask, with all of this reorganization, wouldn't it be better just to build a new elementary school? The board does have that option before them, but when looking at a new elementary school, the cost would be just slightly under $20 million. If we were to do every renovation and enhancement that was been proposed at the current site, the elementary renovations would total just less than $9 million. At this time, we think that is the better way to go, as the elementary building is still a structurally sound building, and with some enhancements could be a very good learning space for our children. Let me spend just a moment or two on our current revenue sources. You'll see in the top that the state funds in green roughly 52% of our source of revenue for schools, and in the blue, 42% is supported by local taxpayers. In this slide, I'd like to talk about our operational budget and revenue limit. In the left-hand side, you'll see our actual distribution for Mineral Point schools, where 52% of our money comes from state aid, and 42% of our revenue comes from local property taxpayers. Combining the state aid and local taxes, our operational budget is capped by a red line at $9 million. We cannot exceed that cap because of the state-imposed revenue limits from 1993 law. On the right-hand side is a scenario distribution that I'd like to suggest. Let's just say the state were to put more money into the general aid formula and fund our schools at a 75% level. Well, if the state gave us 75% revenues in the form of state aid, that would reduce the property tax burden to just 25%. But the red line will not be able to move because, again, we are under an imposed revenue limit of $9 million for operations. So even though the state may put more money into the general aid formula, we do not have more money by revenue limit to actually address some of the concerns that we've presented today. Mineral Point has deferred maintenance as a result of the lack of funding that has been coming to K-12 schools. Nationally, in 2008, schools spent $80 billion on capital projects, and now in 2014 that's less than $50 billion. Here locally in the state of Wisconsin, Wisconsin ranks 7th out of 8 states with the biggest reductions in K-12 funding since 2008. We've lived within our means for as long as we can, but unfortunately a lot of our large projects have continued to slip by because the funding just simply hasn't been there to address both our academic needs as well as our facility needs. And now is the time to learn more, to give our school board your feedback. To help you answer questions, we have Roger Paulskill, our facilities coordinator for many years in the district, that can speak to items such as the roofing, flooring, and parking lots. We have Hans Noel, who's our senior engineer for the Nexus Company, that can talk to you about the technical aspects of every project as well as how the energy efficiency savings would be found. We have our principals Mitch Wainwright at the high school and Vicki Dahl at the middle school that can speak to you about our safe and secure entrance plan, about the additions to the wellness building and the agricultural building, and items such as the desk collector system in the technical education classroom. We have Matt Renwick, our elementary school principal, also able to talk about the secure entrance as well as the traffic reconfiguration and 21st century learning spaces to include air conditioning and lighting. And lastly, we have Jeff Mangan, who is also an employee of the Nexus Solutions Company that is our account specialist and would be able to run the tax impact of any project selected by the district and school board. If the district and school board were to select high priority projects that had attached to them energy savings or would correct some of the problems with our deferred maintenance, those projects would total roughly $5.5 million and would not by state statute need to go to referendum. However, there would be a tax impact of roughly $7.33 per month on a $100,000 home, or $88 annually. If the board were to take community input and select to remodel some of our facilities that would be outside of energy efficiencies or deferred maintenance, those projects would need to go to referendum, and the tax impact would be calculated based on the actual project selected. Thank you for watching this PowerPoint presentation. You are an important part of our decision-making process. Attached on our website, you will find a feedback form that the board will use to guide their decision-making in what, if any, projects would be completed going forward. Thank you for taking the time to be informed, and certainly I encourage you to ask questions. You can reach me, Luc Francois, at 987-0741, or talk to a board member about what you would like to see for our facilities. Thank you again, and I hope you found this PowerPoint informative.